Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of May the 22nd, 2016. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This week, we've got Jupiter and Saturn. These two planets are making their last exact point of their conversation, which has been taking place since last summer. In fact, these two planets are meeting in a precise moment in a type of conversation that astrologers call a square. And this is a conversation of tension, yes, but also ultimately what this does, and the opportunity here, is to help us to be honest with ourselves and to show us where it is that work needs to be done, where it is that we could be paying more attention, we could be doing more to affect the type of change that we desire. These two planets have this conversation at rare moments, historically speaking. And let me give it a little bit of context. Now, Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn moves slower than Jupiter. Jupiter takes about 12 to 13 years to go all the way around the zodiac. And Saturn takes about 28 and a half years or so to go all the way around the zodiac. So Saturn's moving along at a slower pace and Jupiter's at a faster pace. But every 20 years, it's a 20-year cycle. Every 20 years, they will meet in the sky. And that's going to happen at the very start of next decade. Okay, so I will be here, knock on wood, wherever that may be. I will be here to talk about it then. But that is a really big event that is coming up a little bit further down the road. But during that 20-year cycle, what normally happens is these planets will have this particular type of conversation twice in a 20-year cycle. So the fact that this is happening now, and the fact that this is the last major conversation that these planets will be having before they meet in the sky, makes it especially significant at that. There is another lesser conversation that is going to be coming up. It's what astrologers call a sextile, and we're going to start noticing that take place as we move towards the late part of the year, before the year is even over, which is great, but it is not felt as much. It's more of an empowering conversation that's coming up later this year. And what I mean by that is what sextiles do, this particular type of conversation does, is it is a positive conversation, but ultimately what it does is it gives you keys. It shows you, okay, if you work here, you identify what isn't working, but you see how if you give it some energy, if you give it some effort, gains can be made, rewards can be had, talents can be developed. And so that is a great blessing in itself. The fact that these particular planets will be speaking as we move towards the later part of the year, with Saturn right now moving through the sign that has to do with what it is that has a lot of our attention right now, which is politics, right? It is about considering how it is that we are world citizens, where it is that we are not allowing ourselves to be world citizens. It's about looking at politics and truth, especially those subjective truths like values. It's looking at justice, and it is looking at things like not only travel and vacation, but things like citizenship and immigration and what that really means, especially in our modern world. And so Saturn is helping us to get honest about where we are so we can change whatever it is that needs to be changed, so we can evolve that energy, particularly of the given sign that Saturn is in. So the fact that Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius, where Saturn is now, makes this an especially important conversation, whereas a little bit later on it's going to be like, okay, I understand what I can do to make things better. And look, election time is going to be coming up right about there in the US, so we should notice lots of people really putting in a lot of effort to make sure that as many people as possible do vote. I do think that that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a huge voter turnout. So I'll be here again to talk about it then as we move towards the later part of the year. But that's how I see the sextile playing out. And again, it's like good things can happen if you do a little work and if you believe. With the square, it's a little different. It's like it may not be that the reward feels very obvious right away. And it may feel like there's a lot of effort being made without a lot of positive outcome. But this is where the real work happens, the more important work happens. And it's not, by no means a delay. What it is ultimately is it's a bit of a reality check, but at the same time it energizes, it empowers, it shows us what we are committed to changing, what direction we're committed to going in, personally, in our own lives in particular, in order to maximize both energies, to have both energies work for us. Saturn, the energy of manifestation, the energy of what we are actually living in the world, of being practical, an energy that has to do with legacy, thinking really big picture, thinking, what am I leaving behind? What am I doing today that's going to allow me to feel like I am leaving something behind when I get to that moment, when I get to that place? So Saturn is really valuable in that it helps us to ascertain ourselves and helps us to be honest with ourselves so that we're ensuring that we like where we're going. We're ensuring that we're not just getting caught up in the moment, but that we are thinking about larger consequences. So that's a beautiful thing. And Jupiter, of course, is hope. It's optimism. It's larger than life at times as well. And right now, Jupiter is in Earth sign Virgo, which is about those little things that are done every day. It's about work as well, the work that is being done. And it is about daily rituals, those small little things that we all do day in and day out that either help us to be better or not. So it's about little habits, little rituals, little actions that build towards large outcomes. So this is our chance, personally in our own life, but also collectively as well, to evaluate if we like how all those little moments have built us to this point, and if we like the kind of legacy it's going to help us to create. So these particular events that are taking place, if you think back, August of last year was the first. And at that time, these planets were in different signs. At that time, Jupiter was in the sign of Leo and Saturn was in the sign of Scorpio. So there's a little bit of a different energy. Saturn in the sign of Scorpio was about the nitty-gritty, the rejected, the power games, the manipulations as well, and helping us to be honest about that, but also helping us to be honest around matters of finance. And then we had Jupiter in the sign of Leo. And I remember saying way back then, it's going to be this huge celebrity thing. This celebrity culture is just going to take this whole new area of focus. And so over the course of back then, if we think back to what was happening last summer in particular, it was back then that we started looking at, oh, wow, okay, all of a sudden there are these really big celebrities emerging for all kinds of different reasons. In politics, yes, Jupiter is a sign of politics, so we did see that as well. So now we move forward, right? This is the last meeting. They're in different signs now. It's much more about, on the one hand, this, soaring, inspiring speech, meeting the reality, which is what Virgo is about. It's about the details. So this is going to be a time when, especially on the world stage, we're going to see people saying, okay, what's the plan? What are the details? What's the nitty-gritty? And does it match that larger vision or not? So all of us in our own lives as well are going to be having this lesson also. It's one thing to believe, it's one thing to say I'm the greatest, right? That's great. And everybody should have that inside of them. Everyone should have that voice that believes in itself. It's amazing. It's another thing to say, am I living it? I have this ideal of myself. I have this vision of myself. But what is the reality? How are my smallest actions supporting self-love, supporting self-value, or not? And it's not to get depressed about it. That doesn't help at all. But what it is to say is that there's value in being a little bit contemplative with this. And that is one of the hardest things to be when these two particular planets are speaking. Contemplation, not so much. More like ambition, more like conviction is some of the energy that can arise. But the value is in seeing how those little moments support the great things that you're seeing for yourself in your own life. And that can be a really beautiful thing. That honesty can motivate inspired action. The action we take, even though it might feel like the results aren't necessarily immediate, it's not necessarily that instant rush, but there is that sense and there is that knowing that if you put in this energy right now, before long, the rewards will come. And I really don't think we'll have to wait that long at all. Elsewhere in the zodiac, we've also got other stuff happening that is important as well, which says that this is going to be that kind of important week. We've got Mercury standing still in the sky and moving direct. So I spoke about this quite a bit last week, and this is energy actually that's taking place over the course of the weekend as we enter this week. but it will be Mercury that changes direction and is particularly potent in the sky over the course of the weekend as we head into this week. So all of us in some way are going to be having our moments of clarity, our moments of insight, our moments that ask us to question how it is that we have had certain assumptions, and especially around issues of money, around spending. Where is it that we've been putting a lot of energy, a lot of focus on acquiring things or making money in ways that maybe aren't effective, or acquiring things that really don't matter to us in the fullness of time, maybe aren't that important. So it is a clarity in terms of our values, particularly where it comes to the accumulation of things and knowing that you are worthy on your own. You know, there's a lot said for things like, and I know there's all kinds of different movements and stuff out there. Some people talk about the minimalist movement and all that kind of stuff. I'm of the belief that everything in its place, everything has its proper place. And I think that this understanding, this belief really came from a book by Wattles called The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich. And it's actually a surprisingly very spiritual book. And it talks a lot about what prosperity is, aligning yourself with whatever you define as prosperity, defining prosperity for yourself as an energy of happiness and possibility, and also having a sense of acceptance that the universe knows, like every single person, every single part is playing its part. And for example, I like to, once in a while, I do mention way back in the day, like before university, way back in the day, I worked at Walmart for a year, okay? And it's Scarborough Town Center in Toronto. And, you know, I remember at that time, it was a space that I really needed. Now I think back and I think about how karmic a lot of those connections were. Like we all sort of were brought together because we wanted to, you know, make money for whatever reason. And some people are still there at the store many, many years now later. I think it was like 15 years ago, so long ago. But for me, I know how valuable that space was because I met amazing people. I learned about myself. It was there that I was doing chart readings for my coworkers behind the register when there were some downtime, slow times. And that was where I started getting the affirmation of people coming up to me and saying, hey, I heard that you do charts. Will you look at my chart? Can you pull something up? And that experience, you know, that validation and that support was invaluable to me. And also I learned lots of different personal lessons, life lessons, spiritual lessons as a result of my experiences there. And I'll always be grateful for that. I'll always be grateful for the support and the love that I received in my time there. But, you know, I felt love in a lot of different places, professionally and otherwise, and I'm grateful for all of it. But I share that because these places have their purpose, and they've had their purpose in my life. So I'm not trying to make any kind of statement about capitalism or anything like that, or about the larger politics or anything like that, just to say that I had this experience. I was at a very vulnerable and impressionable time in my life. And through having that experience and the karmic contacts that I made at that time, it became this pivotal turning point for me that put me on the path that I am now. And so the universe had its plan and had its purpose for that space. And so this particular book, I know I'm going off in a little bit of a different direction, but I'm reminded of this as we look at the sky now and we look at Mercury now standing still in the sky, where ultimately whatever spaces, whatever consumerism, capitalism, whatever acquiring things or not having things, whatever that needs to be for you and your unique journey is awesome. And it is not wrong wherever you are with that. And wherever you are with that, having that honesty where you understand what really matters and maybe what really doesn't is also tremendously valuable as well, because it allows you to ensure and allows all of us to ensure that as part of our own journey, as part of fulfilling our own karmic contracts with other people, it's part of ensuring that we honor that voice within that tells us where we need to go, what spaces we need to be in, what stores we need to be in so we can acquire what we need to, so that the people who work there are, able to feed their families and on and on. Like if you think about it, life has this amazing tapestry that has a certain perfection playing out at all times. And if we strive to stay conscious, then we can tap into and allow ourselves to glimpse some of that tapestry, which I believe is one of the reasons astrology is so awesome. It allows us to do just that. So that's what I think this Mercury retrograde has been about for a lot of people. And now with Mercury in a very potent position as we start the week, is going to emphasize that. Now also keep in mind what's happening simultaneously. The Sun and Venus are standing across Mars. So Mars is particularly active at this time and over the course of this week. Venus and Sun standing across Mars. Venus, like last week, late last week, the Sun changed signs, moved into Gemini. Venus will move into Gemini as well and speak with that Mars. And then as we move forward, it'll be towards the end of the week that Mars will retrograde back, because Mars is retro right now. Will retro back into the sign of Scorpio, its ancient ruling sign. So it has that connection with that sign. And this, I think, is really valuable on a lot of levels because Mars is going to retro back and be where Saturn was when Saturn and Jupiter had their first exact conversation last summer. So I think that this is incredibly poetic for this to be happening because it's like it's moving back over a point in the sky of a lot of energy. The last time that these two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, got together and created a lot of energy among themselves. So we are going to have Mars retro back. Now think back to what was happening in your life back in early March, the first week of March, as we ended February and particularly in the first days of March. Whatever was taking place at that time, in some way life will hearken to where it is that we need to all of a sudden pay attention, pay energy, give energy. All of a sudden we need to focus on a particular area of life if we are going to be empowered and be spurred forward. If we are going to feel a sense of determination, a sense of purpose, a sense of focus, all of that can be part of the blessing of Mars, particularly as Mars is retro, and particularly as Mars retros into one of its home signs of Scorpio, which is really at its highest level. Scorpio is about what's real, right? On the one hand, the Taurian vibration, on one way to understand that, where Mercury is right now, the Taurian vibration can be about the more superficial aspects, right? It's about enjoying the earthly experience, which has to do with the senses, and it has to do with, things as well. It's part of the human experience. And so there can be, in one understanding of it, a superficial element to it, but there can also be a deeply spiritual element to it. As I like to say, Buddha was a Taurus. Now, somebody actually asked me about that because there's an American holiday where Buddha's birthday is celebrated on April the 4th, which would make him an Aries. But actually, that is more of a cultural celebration. He was said to be born on the 4th day of the 4th month of the Chinese calendar, and so that would put his birth at some point in the early part of May, making him a Taurus. So Buddha was a Taurus. So that's part of that very spiritual vibe that we're tapping into now as well, thanks to Mercury. But having said that, at the same time, with Mars moving back into the sign of Scorpio, it is about getting beyond the superficial, getting to the nitty-gritty, and seeing the beauty and the spiritual in what we otherwise would reject, what we think is not worthy or not spiritual, right? What we consider taboo, what we consider off limits. It's about seeing that there is value in digging deep and actually looking at the thing that we want to deny as part of ourselves. Mars moving back into the sign of Scorpio is asking us to look at the shadow and see the value in it, see the beauty in it. And I think that's part of the lesson of Saturn moving through the sign of Sagittarius as well. And as Saturn moves through the sign of Sagittarius, we are seeing how we project those elements that we reject are part of us, we project them onto the other, right? This is very much sort of a philosophical theory of the abject, Julia Kristeva. And as we are seeing that in ourselves, that how we say, oh, that's because of them. That's those people, that's not us. As Mars retros back into the sign of Scorpio, it allows us that deeper look. It allows us to delve into our shadow and see what it is now that desires to come up for light. It allows us to see within our own selves where it is that we have been, whether it's projecting, whether it is denying. This is allowing us to take ownership for what has been our wounds, for where it is also, which I think is one of the great lessons, where we don't have control and where we try to make things into boxes. We try to make things simple and say, well, that's because of those kinds of people and that's because of them, instead of being able to say, oh, wow, okay, it's me. It's in me. This is something that I'm putting on them, but no, it's actually something deep within me that has, whether it's attracted it, whether it has manifested it, or whether it is just something within your spirit that is no longer working for you. You're able to see it, you're able to own it, and as a result, transform it and turn it into something like the alchemical process. Turn it into something incredibly valuable. Mars moving back into the sign of Scorpio is helping all of us in our own unique journey, helping all of us to identify more fully where it is that we feel that there has been lead in our life, where it is that we have felt burdened, where we have been carrying stuff, and where it is that parts of life have just felt heavy and difficult, and start to recognize, thanks to the celestial process taking place now, all of us in our own journey are starting to recognize where it is, those very parts of us we can actually transform and use as pure gold, a great source of wealth to benefit us in infinite ways in our own unique journey. Well, thank you so much to everybody out there. I'm so grateful that you watched the introduction. Please like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up. I'm so grateful for it. I love our interactions. Please keep them coming. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, and the YouTube comments as well. Sometimes you guys ask questions that are a little bit more personal, that have to do with your unique journey. And if that's the case, please do consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that. Look at your unique birth chart and answer your specific questions. And you can learn more about that on my website, nadiyashah.com. But of course, you being here is everything. It is everything. You being here allows me to live my mission in the world, which is to affirm that the universe is wise and loving. The universe is wise and loving. I believe that. And I do believe that part of my own personal journey, my own sacred journey, is to understand this more fully and to choose to see this more fully, more and more, in as many moments as possible. And I do believe that this is a truth, an underwriting truth that is allowing all of us to grow towards embodying love and wisdom that much more. More of us, that much more. This heightening of consciousness, a heightening of love that is taking place across the planet, has been for centuries, if not millennia. Now, as we become more conscious of it, more and more of us are able to ride that wave towards fully embodying our own light, our own sense of greater love and greater wisdom. And that's what I want to affirm in the world. That's what I'm here to do. And you being here allows me to live that. And for that, I am truly so grateful. Well, thank you so much again. How all this wonderful stuff happening this week, right? It's a big celestial adventure, big week, setting off even bigger trends to take place in the weeks to come. I will be here to talk about it then. But it is starting off some really amazing developments, and how all of us are starting to change now. How all of this speaks to you, and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. This week we've got your ruling planet Mars retrograding back into the sign of Sagittarius, into a very financial part of your sky, and into a part of the sky for you that has to do with finally recognizing what needs to change and where meaningful change can occur. Think back to what was taking place in the very first days of March, because what occurs now will in some way speak to what took place at that time, but it's not over, okay? It will be a little bit later this summer when you'll have another visit of Mars to this exact same spot in the sky. So that is when issues should feel like they are coming full circle, like you fully understand. But now you get some very much needed clarity, some insight, and some deeper understanding into your direction and into a greater sense of purpose and focus as well. Like what's superfluous, what's worth focusing on, What change are you ready to make? And where is it now that you're ready to recognize what doesn't matter anymore or what just never mattered? It really is about getting rid of anything that you consider not essential, but also not really valuable to you, recognizing the true value of things on a deep level, on a soul level at that. So there's lots of transformative energy, even rebirth energy being promised with this. But of course, as I said, there's a financial part of this as well, okay? So it isn't all or nothing with the financial energy here. The promise is that you are going to get another shot at some type of funding. So this could be grant, loans, bursaries, insurance payments, tax returns, benefits, severance packages, inheritances, all of these types of commission payments, all of these types of sources of income, sources of money could find you now, or you'll get another crack at what it was that you had tried for before, you thought you qualified for, but then you didn't. This can bring another possibility up for you to pursue that road. Where it comes to matters of love, Venus is standing across the sky from Mars. So in the introduction, I didn't talk nearly enough about this because of the other really big things that were happening in the sky. But having these two planets stand across from each other makes for very passionate energy. It makes for powerful attractions, and especially where it comes to opposites attracting, that's the type of vibe that all of us are going to be having right about now. For you in particular, this comes down to conversations, and I would really advise you as I look at this, as I've been saying, that this whole idea of like money or politics, like stay away from that if you really want things to go well at any given time. Money and politics are the things you want to shy away from. Well, it is going to be Venus standing across from Mars, just as Mars is sort of in this very delicate position, a very heightened energy position, standing between the signs of Sag and Scorpio. But it is technically going to be at the end of the week that Mars will technically change signs. So Mars is going to be at the very, very early moments of the sign of Sag when this opposition, when Venus stands across and that exact moment occurs. And so what this says to me, and given that Venus is entering a part of the sky for you that is harmonious, but has to do with words, connecting on a level of mind and talking things out, it would be wise to, if you are connecting with somebody online or even just, meeting new people, having conversations, try your best. It won't always be easy, but if you can, steer free from those types of conversations that have to do with politics and religion. If you are in an established bond, this could be a conversation, a needed conversation that comes up. Some very strong feelings may arise. It really is about seeing the other perspective. If you're in a bond where you feel really understood, then that is going to remain that much stronger. And even with the strong emotions that arise, you're able to feel that much closer, that much more passionate about, it's almost like you're passionate, but you're passionate together and looking in the same direction together. If you're in a bond where it's not always as smooth, then this can be a time when your partner has a very different view than your own and you're not really sure what you feel about it. Ultimately, I do think a lot of relationships have to do with negotiation, and they have to do with being willing to see things from another perspective. If that willingness is there, so can respect be there as well. In fact, that willingness to hear each other can only deepen the love that you have. Hello, fabulous Taurus. This week it is Mercury standing still in your sign and finally moving direct. This is energy you should be feeling at the top of the week, late last week as well. And so now it should start to feel like thoughts slowly but surely get clearer. But what's also happening this week that is very important for you, well, there's a few things. One is the fact that Venus will leave your sign, your ruling planet, and stand across the sky from Mars. And then Mars will move into your opposite sign. So as I look at this, this says a few things to me. One is love is going to be a focus for you, increasingly so. You do want to pay attention to what was taking place for you in the early part of March, especially where it came to your partnership, it came to the person that you love, because it is going to be that captures more of your energy and more of your attention. Whatever issues came up where it comes to love. So whether it was you understanding where you are in love and why on a different level, on a deeper level, or whether it was you facing your own frustrations about where you are in love, because I'll tell you, there's one thing that love really teaches you is powerlessness, where you really do not have any control, you do not have any power. I think that's one of the sacred lessons of love, that there's this person, they have all kinds of desires and aims and things that they're trying to do that have nothing to do with you, that people will do all kinds of things that have nothing to do with you, and even when there's love between the two of you, that remains true. But also where it comes to the partnership that you are in as well, or the love that you desire, these are going to be areas of life that ask for more of your energy and more of your focus. And so as I look at this, it does say to me that you will be looking at issues of value as part of the love that you have had, want to have, or have right now. The other part of this, though, is that partnerships, particularly where money is concerned, that's going to be an area of focus as well this week. So if you're in an established bond, you may love this person very much, but there may need to be some negotiating that takes place around areas of finances and joint finances, and how it is, what the balance is, and how it is that you bring and pool your money together or not. There might be some need to talk it out or renegotiate in some way around those areas. What I do love about this week for you is that there is this focus on understanding another person and thereby understanding yourself that much more deeply. Whether it's a business partnership or a love partnership, you are coming to see yourself differently in more empowered terms, but also slowly but surely these last few weeks you've come to see yourself in more beautiful terms as well. Hello, fabulous Gemini. This week, Venus will move into your sign to join the Sun, who moved in late last week. And what we also have taking place is Mars. Mars has been moving through your opposite sign, but will now leave your opposite sign as well. So there are lots of different ways to look at this, but mainly where it comes to matters of heart and matters of love. Venus moving into your sign. As Venus moves into your sign, will stand across from that Mars. And so this should be a real moment for you, a real moment of worthiness and taking a stand for your worthiness, knowing and saying to yourself, this is who I am, and I know this to be true, and I deserve this in love. This may come about through somebody new, okay? Letting you see this in yourself. I deserve this in love. This might come about in different ways, okay? This might come about in ways that aren't so much about needing to take any kind of stand, but a little bit more subtle, where you see things within yourself that you can respect, that you can admire, that you know are desirable to others and to yourself. Knowing that you are worthy and that you deserve to have whatever your definition of love is, to have more of it in your life, romantic or otherwise. But having Venus move into your sign is also just really good in terms of not only feeling more beautiful, but wanting beautiful things. Makeovers go extremely well. Now do keep in mind, because Mars is standing across from the sky, I would encourage you to be a little mindful of that, because it does suggest to me that it might be that you want a makeover, and you don't realize the expense, or you don't realize how big a change it's going to be, or you don't realize the resistance that might be there to it. So just keep these things in mind. We are going to have, as Venus continues to move through your sign, we'll be making some very supportive conversations, having supportive conversations, especially with Uranus. So I would prefer that you wait a little bit, because right now it's Venus standing across Mars. That's lots of passion for sure. That's also a desire awakening within you, a desire to be desired and to know passion more fully. So that can be an awakening on a level of body as well. But as we move forward in the weeks to come, Venus will stand across Saturn, which can bring a sense of limitation before Venus speaks in supreme harmony with Uranus. Of course, I'll be here to talk about it then, but that's going to be your golden moment in the weeks to come to make any kind of big changes that you may desire. Whether it is if you're changing your hair color, which is something I'm not against, right? It's just hair. or something else. Get a tattoo or any kind of cosmetic procedure, or just buy new clothes, get a new wardrobe in a different style than you're used to. All of that, you'll have lots of luck to not only find great deals, but to find looks and to make changes that you really, really love and that go exceptionally well. That's coming up a couple weeks down the road. So I'll keep you posted when we get there. But for now, it seems like you might feel like an urgency, if you will. And if that's the case, maybe just stop and step back, especially where it comes to going in a direction you know isn't in your means right now. And I don't mean that necessarily financially. It might be financial, but it might also be that it's being motivated by a part of you that you need to understand more deeply. Also, this could be in terms of romance as well, a physical attraction to another person. You may need that moment to seek to understand it and say, okay, does this make sense for me or not? Is this direction I want to go in or not? And that is particularly true where it comes to workplace romances. Okay, that's where you really want to be careful, because we are going to have Mars retro back into the workplace, and it's going to be in the workplace that passions can really be stirred. So if there's been somebody there, particularly think back to the first week of March, if there's been somebody around there that you have felt drawn to, this can be a time when things get stirred up again. But remember, that Mars will go direct. A few weeks down the road, that Mars will go direct and you'll be seeing things very differently. So my advice would be, if you can, take that moment. If you can, pace yourself a little bit as you now are going to start to step into a greater sense of self-worth. And you will find that matters of passion in particular are not going to feel as urgent as we move forward in the days and weeks to come. So that's if you're open to meeting somebody new, that workplace stuff. If you are in an established bond, this particular conversation of Venus and Mars can make, particularly for you, can make for an interesting interaction with that person that you are partnered with. There might be some discussion around, if I may say, I mean, as I look at this is, Mars's desire, especially on a physical level, and Venus is more sweet and more soft. And when I see these two planets standing across from each other, I see a partner demanding your attention in a very physical kind of way. And then you're the one holding the sweetness and softness energy. Well, then, I think about where is it that some talking needs to happen, some clarity needs to happen, some speaking from the heart, some desiring to understand each other more deeply on a heart-to-heart level. Ultimately, that's going to help you all around in terms of your partnership now and indefinitely. The more you can cultivate that skill and put it into use, the stronger it becomes, and the more likely it is that that bond is made that much stronger. But it does look like the two of you are motivated to connect, and that can be a beautiful moment, an energized moment at that. Hello, fabulous Cancer. This week we have got an active sky playing out now, and a part of that activity has to do with the fact that Venus and Mars, particularly active now, and particularly given that Mars will retro back into a part of the sky for you that has to do with romance, that has to do with flirtation and the feelings that love can provide. So whereas for other signs, it's more about the partnership, okay? For you, not so much. It's not so much about the partnership, but for you, it's more about your own experiences as you're meeting somebody new and what it feels like to be in their company, and the butterflies and the physical expression becomes that much more emphasized with a sky like this. With Venus standing across Mars just before Mars retros back in a key part of the sky for you, a romantic part of the sky for you, it does suggest that you feel reawakened in some way. And it's very likely going to be a moment that is quiet, possibly a moment that feels kind of like secretive as well. But it is one of these very quiet, very personal moments that allows your sense of flirtation and your sense of engagement in life that is that much easier to connect to for you. This also could be one of your children. If you have children, which a lot of people with strong Cancerian energy tend to have. If you are somebody who has children, It could be your children that needs your attention once again, especially if your child needed your attention in the early part of March. That issue that would have arisen then will likely arise now again for further understanding, for further conclusions. Now the full conclusions will come a few weeks down the road, a couple months down the road, and I'll be here to talk about it then. Elsewhere in the zodiac, this last of 3 rare conversations between Jupiter and Saturn is going to speak especially meaningfully to you where it comes to your work and your workspace and your co-workers. So you do want to watch that, because it does look like, to be honest with you, I would really encourage you to be mindful of any kind of communications, emails, conversations, because the chance is there for some like political activities, put it that way, some politicking, for some interpretation that you'd rather not have come forward, or even just, you know, something that you do really think, that you do really believe being expressed, being shared, that you rather wouldn't. Not that it necessarily means that it's something so bad, but it might be something that you would rather have had private. So keep that in mind, especially when you're putting anything into writing and when you're communicating with coworkers right about now. It's really important to be patient, to be impeccable. And I think we all know when we behave in ways that are right and when we don't. And so I do think you have that sensitivity to be able to stop yourself from going in a direction that you know is less than ideal. And if you can do that, then you will find yourself, you know, just being able to use this energy in infinitely better ways than in workplace drama that could find you now. You don't have to participate if you see it taking place, and you ultimately can learn from that and further refine what type of workplace and even the type of work that you're doing, the types of clients that you're attracting. Where is it that it works best for you, and where is it that it doesn't? And moving forward from that place of clarity. Hello, fabulous Leo. This week we've got an active sky, and it is Mars that is doing some very interesting things now. So Mars is moving through, has been moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with romance. And as Mars retros back, it'll be the Cancers that get the romance, and you not so much anymore, for a little while anyways. But just before Mars leaves this part of the sky for you, for a little while, we'll connect with Venus. We'll stand across the sky from Venus. This is passion all around, and especially when it comes to friendship. So if you are somebody who's open to meeting someone new, wants to connect with someone, or maybe has somebody there as part of your friendship sphere, this can be a time when that connection takes place, and it feels particularly powerful, particularly strong as well. So keep that in mind. And then the energy will change, the focus will change. So it seems almost like there may be a moment of honesty, a moment of awakening, a moment of passion even is possible with this, before all of a sudden you've got to pay attention to other things and you have to leave that to the side for a little bit. And that's okay, it happens. Your friends are still going to be there for you. Friends can be an amazing support for you now in particular, but you will have to start, you will find yourself starting to need to pay attention to matters of home, whether it's the physical structure or home of origin, physical structure or the home of origin, or family of origin as well. That may be an area of focus, particularly your parents that need a little bit of your time, need a little bit of your energy. And that will be for the next few weeks, okay? So it's okay if you have to all of a sudden like sort of switch gears a little bit. You will not only find yourself glad for it, but also empowered by it, knowing that you're showing up and doing what you're supposed to be doing for the place that you live, the home that you live in, the family that you have, the family of origin. As you show up for them and give your energy to them, you will find yourself getting clear about some deeper motivations that ultimately will empower you in many different areas of life as part of the bigger picture. So where it comes to love, as I said, where it comes to, you know, new connections and stuff, we have this very passionate energy. Where it comes to established bonds as well, there is, you know, a desire to really be able to relax with this person and wanting to be friends with this person. And all around, I think, whereas for some other signs out there, The energy can be a little bit confrontational for you in particular. I think given the placement of the cosmos, there will be an easier connection, a more easier giving into the lighter side of the passions kind of energy for you, an established bond. What I love about this week for you, Leo, is that you are showing up, you are being present, and you are loving. Heart wide open love. And it is the kind of love that will help you to see yourself from a whole other perspective. And I do believe it is a perspective that you will like very much. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week, Jupiter in your sign will be speaking with Saturn. It's the last of a series of conversations of this kind, and certainly the last for you with Jupiter in your sign having this type of conversation. As I look at this to me says that you are right now in a process and reaching one of those important crescendo moments of defining home for you and your different understanding of yourself. Where does that work? Where does it not? So there's something within you that is growing, that is expanding, that is wanting more, that is wanting a change. And you're looking at where you've been. You're looking at your past. You're looking at maybe where you are right now. Could be physically, where you live. Could be your hometown. And you're looking at this and thinking about how high you want to go, what more you want to do, and how it is that you desire to be more, especially in the world in some way. So this could be through higher education. This could be through law, through politics, through travel. This could be through immigrating somewhere else. So these are the kind of issues, these are the kinds of desires and yearnings that show up when you have Jupiter in your sign. And this is one of those peak moments, one of those pivotal moments, and the experiences you have now are going to be part of the big changes and the really empowering circumstances that are set to take place for you in late June of next month, not even that far into the future. This is something that I speak about in the monthly horoscope for your sign, so you do want to keep an eye out for that. That should be up before the month is over, for the month of June, because it is there that I delve into this that much more. It's an important time for you. It's at a turning point right now. So this is where you identify where the change has to happen, where it is that you're ready to free yourself from the burdens of the past so that you can truly be yourself and truly move into your future and be that much more empowered. And really to tap into your luck, into your more positive energy, and into a spirit of hope and possibility that much more. When it comes to matters of love, right now Venus is gearing up to move to the very top of your sky. So it's leaving fellow Earth sign this week and will move to the very top of your sky, which means that love is something that has you looking up. So this could be, if you are open to meeting someone new, wanting to be with somebody or meeting someone who in some way has achieved something that you desire to achieve. It could be someone who is higher up on whatever ladder, if you're sort of thinking along the career path, higher up on that proverbial ladder. It could be somebody in a position of authority, someone who's achieved something, someone who's older, the ancients would say possibly someone older. But the energy itself is quite youthful at the same time. So if it is somebody older that catches your attention, their spirit certainly would be very young and would awaken a vibrant energy all around. And there is attraction, powerful attraction set to take place with this conversation between Venus and Mars playing out this week, and the Sun joining in as well, adding that much more fuel to the passion, the fire of passion that is set to awaken for all of us in our own unique way. If you're in an established bond, this is a time where there may be some negotiating around home. Who is it that's home more? What is it that needs to be done at home? How are those, whether it's chores, whether it's responsibilities, how is it going to be divided? How are you going to spend your time together and living together? And how do you feel about that? How can you create a more comfortable space for each other? These are going to be areas of consideration as you start to strive to feel more comfortable with this person. And even if you've been with them for a long time, it might be something as simple as you redecorating or putting certain pieces of furniture in a different place that makes your partner go, whoa, what happened? What did you do? Where is that thing? And ultimately this will allow itself to open yourself up to a conversation ultimately. And that's the thing about conversations, is that you learn that much more about each other, and you're brought in the bigger picture that much closer because of them. Hello, fabulous Libra. This week we've got Venus, your ruling planet, standing across the sky from Mars. This is passionate energy all around for all of us in our own unique ways. But for you, that Venus is moving into fellow air sign this week, making it that much more of an accessible energy. It's like you're able to bring forward the best of this energy because of that connection to your element. And so as I look at this to me says that there's going to be some part of you that is going to be desiring to experience more. Now, whether that's more of the world, whether that's more on a level of ideas and mind, philosophies, even spiritualities, there's going to be that part of you that is feeling a sense of awakened curiosity. And it may very well be that attraction is part of the motivation, is part of what spurs you forward, which is one really great thing that attraction can do. It certainly can make us receptive in ways that we might not have been otherwise to all kinds of ideas, to all kinds of things. And that's part of what I'm seeing take place for you now. If you are open to meeting someone new, it would be these very spaces that you want to go to, where there are explorations of new ways of looking at the world and new ways of understanding yourself that can work together with actually connecting with someone in a more genuine way. At the very least, look, there's not a lot of stable energy with this, but what there is a lot of passionate energy. There's a strong attraction energy. So at the very least, you should find yourself sort of propelled towards another person who has a really different way of looking at the world, and that opens your eyes and maybe even opens your heart towards seeing yourself differently than you did before. Those of you in an established bond, this could be a time when your partner expresses a point of view that takes you by surprise, expresses a point of view of the world, of ideas, of spirituality, that either takes you by surprise, that you didn't realize, or maybe they've changed in some way. And this should make for a very interesting moment. It should make for a moment where you're looking at yourself and being like, okay, is that who I'm with? Or, okay, what motivated that? What's going on with my partner? So this can be a very interesting exchange as well, but ultimately it's about you seeing your world and seeing yourself differently as a result. We also have Jupiter speaking this week with Saturn. And we also have Mars retroing back into a financial part of your sky. So on the one hand, what I'm seeing as I look at this is that there might be some conversations that come up now that stir something deep within you, a faith, an awareness even, right, of where it is that maybe there's some getting in your own way, where maybe you know better. You might find yourself actually with this sky talking about something, and the person you're talking to is like, yep, I remember, you told me. And it's like you realize all of a sudden, oh my God, I've had this exact conversation with this person like 20 times already, my poor friend. And that makes you aware of something. And what is it that's coming up for you? Where is it now that you're preparing to move forward, to move on? With Mars moving into financial part of the sky, you are going to have to start paying attention to your finances, spending and earnings. And this ultimately is meant to empower you, but pay attention to what shows up this week, particularly as we move later into the week, because what arises will in some way reflect what was taking place in your financial life towards the end of February and the early part of March earlier this year. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week, before the week is out, Mars will retro back into your sign. Pay special attention to what takes place late in the week, because it will in some way hearken to what was happening in your life in the first days of March earlier this year. And it is very much about you and what's happening at the heart of you, what's happening in terms of who you know yourself to be. It's your identity that is being lit up right now and being shifted in some important ways. Before we get you there, though, just before we get you there, I have a feeling as I look at this, what I'm seeing is that there might be a moment that comes up that kind of, raises emotions, and it might be connected to finances. It might be connected to money. So just be aware of that. That's a possibility. And it is as those emotions arise, as there's like sort of this moment, that it leads you to confront a fear and ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? You know, how am I using my energy? Which is a very powerful question, a very powerful statement when Mars moves through your sign, is to become more aware of how you're aligning your energy. Now, you are the sign of the law of attraction. This is very powerful. What it means is that you understand the power of emotion and your emotional energy. If anyone's tuned into that power, it certainly is you. But there's something about aligning yourself with an energy of truth, yes, but an energy of ultimately whatever it is that you desire to experience more of. Whatever it is you want your life to be, there's something about knowing that you are living it on an energetic level that makes it come up that much more quickly. And that's part of that being aware of your own energy and how it's playing a part in your own experience is part of how Mars blesses us. But here's the thing with Mars. Mars asks us, when it moves in your sign, it asks you to take ownership for the change you wish to be and you wish to experience. And if you can do that, then you will find your life moving that much more powerfully, that much more purposely forward. It's like you're starting to really get in touch or re-getting in touch with what circumstances in your life are no longer acceptable to you. And this ultimately will awaken a real sense of focus and a real determination to have a better present and a better future, to work towards that future that you desire, which can make this an incredibly empowering time. So trust your circumstances and trust how things evolve, because ultimately they are bringing you back to yourself, bringing you back to your own power. Where it comes to matters of heart, matters of love, we do have Venus about to leave your opposite sign and moving into a part of the sky that has to do with the real connection, the genuine connection, the moving beyond the superficial. It's sort of like your home in the sky is about to be blessed with the energy of the goddess of love. And so it is as if love is going to start to feel more at home with you in a sense. So your house in the sky is being blessed with this energy of love. And so it is as if love is coming to you. You are understanding about self-love on the one hand, but also what needs to change. And it goes to this idea of energy. So the very core of you, the blessings of you are being highlighted by your understanding, your deepening understanding of the role that love is going to play in your life. If you're open to meeting someone new, it may very well be a sweet and soft attraction that sets off this awareness for you, that helps you to understand something about yourself and see yourself a little bit more gently, to see where you're ready to make a change, to make a shift, to allow yourself to let go of some element of the past so you can feel that much more free moving forward. And for others of you out there, if you are in an established bond, you know, this can be a time of some very powerful soul searching set to take place. So this can be a time when all of a sudden you go, oh my God, wow, I've been doing that. I did that. I spoke to that person that way. That's not who I want to be. That's not what I want to do. And that is where power is. It's awareness. And with that awareness, you can't help but realize what needs to change, where you do have power. And that ensures that you move yourself powerfully towards the love you desire. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. This week we've got an active sky, very active sky, and you are in some ways at the center of it for most of the week, and that is because of Mars. Mars is easing out of, retrograding out of your sign, but before Mars leaves, he is setting up a party with the Sun and with Venus in your opposite sign. This is very powerful. This is very much about attractions and love. And this is about just being propelled towards a certain person, whether it's someone new, whether it's within an established bond. So with someone new, it's very possible with a sky like this and Mars in your sign, it's very possible to just somebody finding you absolutely irresistible, just being propelled in your direction. And what's really great is that as Venus moves through your opposite sign and will in the weeks to come, for the weeks to come, this can be a great time if you're open to meeting someone new, to attracting someone who has the potential to stick around. So people who show up now can sometimes be more long-term people than might otherwise. And that can be a really sweet, sweet development for you. But this also can just be seeing yourself, having other people affirm a more loving approach to you and approaching you with greater softness and gentleness as well. And it's almost as if I'm seeing you, you didn't know how much it would mean to you until you got it, until it showed up for you. Also, as Mars gears up to leave your sign, you should notice yourself not feeling quite so much like, well, for some, I think for a few of you out there, it might have felt a little bit on edge. For others of you out there, this might have been more of an energy that felt like you felt like you had to do something. You know, you felt like, okay, there's all this stuff I want to do. There's all these changes that got to happen. I got to do it. I got to do it. And that can be great sometimes. But sometimes it can also have you like sort of running on all cylinders. So this can be a really great time when you feel yourself exhale a little bit. Your night time, your dream time will be a particularly active space. However, this, just on a very visceral level, it should feel that something calms down a little bit. And also what I really like about this energy is that it is going to be through your dreams that you're shown ways to empower yourself now and what you can do that will benefit you for a long time to come. Jupiter is your ruling planet, and it's the last of a series of rare conversations with Saturn in your sign, making this an incredibly, an especially important week rather. And that is because this is saying something about who you believe you should be, right? The shoulds, and contrasting that with, you know, what you feel, all that you could be, okay? That's really what is being set up here. All that you could be, this expansive, big, glowing vision, and what you should be doing now, or what ideally in a more respectable version of yourself you should be pursuing. And that contrast right now is asking to find a way to get along. Sometimes they don't get along. But here's the thing, you're a Sag, right? At the end of the day, Sages are going to do what they want. It is always your decision. That's the thing with the Sag energy. You've got to be true to yourself, or else you become very restless. It's very hard to feel at peace if you are not doing what you know is going to allow you to feel right with you. And right about now, a part of that sacred learning and a part of that understanding is not to ignore one in favor of the other, but it's to find a way to bring the two together, to figure out what you want to do. I was thinking of one example as I looked at the sky. Might not necessarily apply, but this is sort of one example, right? Imagine your family really wants you to be a doctor, right? But you really want to write books and be a speaker. Well, with an aspect like this, with a conversation like this, it's almost as if I'm seeing you say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I could do the doctor thing for now, and I could write my books and know what I'm doing as well, and know that I'm not going to practice medicine. I'm going to use that as a launching point to do the other stuff that I want to do. A lot of people have actually done that. That's not a totally unique path. A lot of people end up going that way. That's one example of a lot of different scenarios that can play out, but it's kind of like that. What you should do, the shoulds, right? You got to be careful of them. Sometimes they're great, sometimes not so much. But this can be a real time of some growing up and some inner strengthening taking place. So what you should do and what you could do, and they need to work together right about now. They don't always, but right about now you will find that right balance. And for better or worse, you're going to find a motivation to tap into both. And I think very much for the better, you'll be tapping into the both to make each, what you could do and what you should do, that much stronger and easier to achieve. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we've got your ruling planet Saturn having its last of a series of conversations with Jupiter. As I look at this, this says to me that you are rethinking something key within you. Now, with Saturn, the thing is that it speaks to you in the sky, right? it's you having your lessons going about, but it's always speaking to something very personal, something that's a matter of heart. And you've got Saturn right now in the sign just before yours. So it's like a karmic stirring that's taking place, a realization of where you're done, a realization of where now you're ready to create space so something even more fabulous can enter the picture. Now, how are you going to do that? How is that going to happen? What needs to transform? What needs to change? And just how is your vision going to allow those closures that will allow the beginnings that you're hoping for? Well, a lot of that is going to be up for consideration, yes, but I think you're also going to start to see the pathway forward. It's like you are feeling ready to make that change, to make that shift. You're feeling ready to allow that space to take place so that something new and more fabulous can enter the picture. And it's just about trusting the vision and taking the steps that show up for you without being premature. Not that you ever would be. I mean, if anyone knows how to take it one step at a time, it certainly is you. And that's part of why they say, like, one of the higher understandings of the sign of Capricorn is that you can achieve anything. You can achieve anything. Anything worth having is worth working for. It's a very Capricornian thing, a very Capricornian ideal. But you absolutely understand that on a deep level, on a visceral level. And that's what a lot of this sky is saying to you. Okay, are you willing to work for it? But it's one thing to be willing to work for it. Are you willing to have faith for it, even if it hasn't shown up for you yet? That's going to be part of what shows up for you. And there's going to be a real desire on your part to experience some big changes, to experience a big shift. And yet you know that it's better not to, sort of say, okay, I'm leaving a certain situation before you know for sure where it is that you're going. Even if you have faith that you know what's coming up ahead, you are going to be feeling like you want to be sure that you are tightening that gap and making sure that space of not knowing is as brief as possible, is as small as it possibly can be. But what I do really also love about this week for you is that we are going to have Venus move into a part of the sky for you that has to do with your work. And this should bring a really sense of a sweet environment, a softer environment all around, particularly in your workspace, among your coworkers and your immediate supervisors. But this also can bring a romantic spirit of sorts, okay? You might find yourself in a certain flirtation where it comes to the office space. Now, it seems to come on by surprise. It seems to get things stirred, feelings stirred. Now, what you do with it beyond that, completely up to you. But it certainly is a moment of awareness, if you will. Those of you who are in an established bond, as I look at the sky, it says to me that there's going to be this part of you that wants to feel a greater connection with your partner. So there's going to be this part of you that feels like, I want more text messages, I want more phone calls, I want to feel your presence more in my life. So how can we do that? How can we make that happen? Or it might be your partner that is feeling that and expressing that. And there is something very sweet about it, to want to feel like that support is there in the smallest moments. For a small percentage of you, it might be that circumstances call for it. It's like your partner may be going through something a little challenging, and you've got to be present and give them that encouragement. Make sure they're getting your text messages every hour, every 2 hours. But other times it might be a more softer message, a more subtle message coming forward that lets you know that there is a desire there to experience a renewed sense of closeness. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week, we've got some big things happening, some sweet things in particular for you. And the sweetness comes from the fact that Venus is going to move into a decidedly romantic part of your sky. So Venus is going to move into a part of the sky for you that has to do with getting your flirt on. And that is going to be easier than ever. And I also think that this is a move that is going to work well for you in terms of just wanting to have fun, wanting to enjoy your life more and feeling that sense of awakening. So if you feel like you've had to pay a lot of attention to matters at home, which might have been the case over the last few weeks, where you just have to be more at home, be more present for family, now you'll find the energy shift where you start to feel like you want to live it up a little bit more. You want to make sure you're planning your fun time and enjoying your life with the people who help you to enjoy your life that much more. But as I said, there's also a strong flirtation element to this. And so if you're open to meeting someone new, this is a very promising occurrence to take place, because it does say that this is all about dating. This is all about flirting. This is all about connecting with someone else and feeling a sense of awakening through that repartee that takes place when you're connecting with someone new. And the thing is, like they say, and I like to say, that air signs fall in love with their best friend. And so for you in particular, you've got all this air being kicked up to your advantage. So it's very much about connecting with someone on a level of mind, connecting with someone where you're connecting on a level of heart, but on a level of friendship as well. And that's when you know you're headed in the right direction. For those of you in an established bond, as I said, there's a desire to have fun with this sky, with or without your partner, particularly as Venus is just leaving now the foundation of your sky. This can be a particularly monotonous kind of placement. So if you feel like, okay, I love my person, I love the person I'm with, but it's gotten a little boring, then this is going to be you saying, okay, either you have fun with me or I'm doing my own thing. But that's very Aquarian. That's the great thing about Aquarius, is that Aquarians are totally fine on their own, with a group of friends or with a partner. You know that you're okay regardless, and you will enjoy regardless, and I'm sure you will with a sky like this. You add to this Venus standing across from Mars, and this can be a friendship or an introduction through a friend that really sets off one romantic moment. I'm seeing like elevated heart rates taking place with this particular configuration. If anything, just that moment of attraction helps you to see yourself differently, and your options in love start to look a lot more abundant as well. What we also have taking place this week is your ancient ruling planet Saturn is speaking with Jupiter now in the last of a series of rare conversations. This is particularly interesting for you because Jupiter speaks to a few different areas of your sky, speaks to friendship, but also speaks to finances, speaks to money. And right now, we have Saturn moving through the part of the sky that also has to do with these exact things. So there's a connection that's playing out there that is particularly powerful. So these areas are going to be of a special significance for you. What I also think as I look at this is, this to me is about self-sabotage and being aware of it so that you can heal it, so you can get it out of the way. So it's one thing to believe, right? It's another thing to get in your own way. And so wherever it is that you've been getting in your own way from experiencing the kind of self-esteem that you desire, the kind of either it could be in addition to, or it may be prosperity that you desire, a sense of doing something for work that feels personally rewarding to you and having prosperity be the natural result. These are the types of issues and the types of scenarios that I see arising for you. And wherever it is that you get in the way of your own self-interest, you will become aware of it and you will also see the solution and start to bring yourself out of it. And it might just be as simple as a matter of energy. How are you spending your energy? And are you feeling tired? If you're feeling tired, what needs to shift? What needs to heal? The answer might be spiritual. It's very possible with this. It may just be like literally 5 minutes of meditation a day make all the difference. And you start to see how that alone allows you to start creating more prosperity for you. And the feedback will be almost instant. You'll start to see it very quickly. That could be one way that this energy plays out. And another way is documenting your dreams. But it also could be like more on a physical level as well. So if you notice that you're not feeling the way that you could, this is going to be your chance to get honest about where it is that you're ready to make a meaningful change and have the faith to see that inspiration through to fruition. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week we've got your ancient ruling planet Jupiter speaking with Saturn. And Saturn right now moving through the very top of your sky, which has to do with achievement, the big fruition, right? Achieving the big things, the big goals of your life, and creating a legacy as a result. This is where you start to put yourself on the map. That's what's going on here with you understanding what needs to happen so that you can do just that. You can put yourself on whatever your personal map is. Now, whether that's a career map, whether that is more personal in terms of your own personal goals, your own sense of life purpose, your own sense of direction, all of that is being lit up thanks to this particular conversation. And there's an element here, there's an aspect to this that has to do with other people being a part of this. How much are you going to let other people in? How much are you going to let them shape where it is that you can go, where you're meant to go? And this can be a time when helpers do come forward, but there's going to be some interesting dynamics there. On the one hand, there might be people who ask to be, whether it's compensated fairly, that could be part of it. Another part of it could be people who have ideas that challenge you. People who have certain ideas that have you looking at what you're doing differently and have you needing to explain some of your rationale or some of your decisions, and you needing to affirm that this is somebody who's there for you, or is it somebody who's putting pressure on you? So in some way, there's a redefinition of an alliance that is part of that bigger picture of your life. Now, this also could work out in a love sense, okay? With Jupiter in your opposite sign being activated in this way, it does suggest that love and partnerships is very much of interest to you now. If you are open to meeting someone new, this is where you face your fears. This is where you look at what other people want for you and what you want for you. This is where you sort of face that, okay, here's the traditional view, and this is the type of person I should be with. And that might work with who you want to be with, okay? And that's great. And if that's the case, then it may be like other people are telling you you shouldn't want that. But it might be that that's not what you want, and then other people telling you you shouldn't want what you want. It is part of the conversation that may take place for you internally as part of preparing you for greater love. Remember, Jupiter is also going to, in a month's time, speak in supreme harmony with Pluto. That is going to be a game-changing moment for you. Lots of positive things can start to take place for you at that time. Powerful love connections can take place for you at that time as well. So let this be the preparation for you on the way there. If you are with somebody, if you're in an established bond, this can be a very powerful time where you start to understand what they really want. And is it what they really want, or is it what they want because they don't know any better? That's going to be part of what you're considering as well. But if you are in an established bond, this is going to be you saying to yourself, okay, is this person really going where I'm going? Is this a right now kind of person and we're all right? Or is this somebody that I know eventually it's going to have to go a different way? At least being honest with yourself, or at least facing your doubts. That doesn't mean you might not change your mind. In a month's time, you might realize like, oh my God, yeah, I had that doubt. I dealt with it, but now I feel so in love. That could very much be the case. So if there is any doubt that does come up for you now, allow it to. Don't try to deny it, but allow it to come up so that you can face your own questions, but more importantly, face your own fears. That is part of what this conversation is going to be about for you. But what I do really love about this week for you is that the lessons learned now and the gains made now are ones with the real potential to last and to benefit you in just about every area of life. Well, thank you so much. To all signs out there, it'll be a great week. Enjoy.